Forget everything you think you know about planet Earth. Before the blue skies, before the green forests, before a single fish swam in the sea, this world was an alien hellscape, a grotesque masterpiece of cosmic horror. Picture this: a sky not of blue, but of a thick, suffocating orange methane haze. The oceans weren't a welcoming blue. They were a sickening olive-green sludge, choked with dissolved iron, simmering under a faint, young sun. This wasn't our planet. This was a completely different world, hostile and bizarre, and it was ruled by life that would find our air to be the most toxic poison imaginable. For over 1 billion years, the undisputed kings of this primordial ooze were the anaerobes, microscopic tyrants who thrived in the complete absence of oxygen. They bubbled away in the murky depths, building an empire on sulfur and methane, breathing in gases that would kill us instantly. To these creatures, our world, the world we breathe, would be an apocalyptic nightmare. Oxygen wasn't just unnecessary, it was a weapon of mass destruction, a corrosive chemical that would tear them apart on a molecular level. They were the original masters of Earth, and their reign was absolute. Then, the monster was born. Not from the stars, but from the slime itself. A new kind of microbe, a freak of evolution called cyanobacteria, stumbled upon a terrifying new superpower. It was a bizarre and world-shattering accident of chemistry. This tiny organism figured out how to do something no one else could. It learned to eat sunlight. It harnessed the power of the sun in a process we now call photosynthesis. It was a revolutionary leap forward, a biological miracle that came with a terrible, terrible price. Because with every meal of pure sunlight, this new life form exhaled a waste product, a ghost gas, a substance so volatile, so reactive, it was pure poison to the established order. It was breathing out the apocalypse. It was breathing out oxygen. Now you might think, oxygen? That's the good stuff. But for the life that owned the planet, it was a death sentence. Free oxygen is a chemical hooligan. It's a hyper-reactive element that desperately wants to rip electrons off of other molecules, a process we call oxidation. It's the same reaction that causes iron to rust and fires to burn. For an anaerobe, breathing oxygen was like gargling with acid while being set on fire. This gas shredded their cell membranes, shattered their delicate DNA, and ground their metabolism to a screeching halt. It was a poison that dissolved the world from the inside out. But the planetary murder didn't happen overnight. For millions upon millions of years, the planet itself tried to contain the poison. As the cyanobacteria pumped this toxic gas into the oceans, it immediately slammed into all that dissolved iron. The oceans began to rust. The entire planet's water was literally rusting shut, as unfathomable quantities of iron oxide, rust, formed and rained down onto the sea floor, creating vast, blood-red layers of rock. For hundreds of millions of years, this silent, slow-motion war raged beneath the waves. Every puff of oxygen was instantly captured, shackled to an iron atom, and dragged to the seafloor to form a layer of rust. It was a planetary chemical reaction of apocalyptic proportions, turning the world's oceans into a cosmic-scale rust-proofing facility. The planet was bleeding rust, and we can see the scars today. These events left behind colossal geological tombstones called banded iron formations. They are literal layers of fossilized rust, miles thick, striping the ancient rock with the evidence of this worldwide poisoning. Each band is a memorial to a battle in a war that lasted longer than the dinosaurs, a silent testament to the planet choking on the first breath of a new kind of life. But you can't trap a poison forever. The cyanobacteria were just too good at what they did, too relentless in their toxic exhalations. Eventually, after eons of tireless rusting, the oceans simply ran out of free iron to sacrifice. The planetary sponge was full to bursting. There was nowhere left for the oxygen to go. The buffer was gone. The fail-safe had failed. For the first time, every single molecule of that sharp reactive oxygen waste had no iron to cling to. It was free, and it began to bubble up from the depths, escaping the water and pouring into the atmosphere. The planet was about to exhale a poison it had been swallowing for 1 billion years. This, my friends, was the tipping point. The moment reality broke. Scientists call it the Great Oxidation Event, which is a terrifyingly polite name for the moment the world's atmosphere was flooded with a corrosive, life-shattering gas. The apocalypse had begun, not with a bang, but with a bubble. The sky itself began to transform. That soupy, orange-brown methane haze that had shrouded the Earth for its entire existence started to get ripped apart by the hungry oxygen. It cleared, revealing a color no complex life had ever seen before. A sharp, terrifying alien blue. This wasn't a sign of a healthy new world. It was the color of a global chemical weapon being deployed. And the horror didn't stop there. This new oxygen-rich air went to war with the atmosphere's most important greenhouse gas, methane. It tore the methane molecules apart, obliterating the planet's warm, protective blanket. Global temperatures plummeted, kicking off the Huronian glaciation, a snowball Earth event that encased the entire world in ice for 300 million years. This was it. The single greatest, most devastating mass extinction in the 4.5 billion-year history of our bizarre little rock. The reigning kings of the planet, the anaerobic organisms that had built and dominated the world for eons, now faced an enemy they couldn't fight, hide from, or even comprehend. Their entire world became toxic. The very air burned them from the inside out. Their food sources vanished. Their climate collapsed into a planetary deep freeze. Up to 99% of all life on Earth was extinguished, wiped out, a global genocide committed by the waste product of microscopic blue-green algae. Think about that. The most successful forms of life, rulers of a planet for over 1 billion years, were not felled by an asteroid or a volcano. They were made extinct by what was, to them, industrial pollution. They were poisoned by the breath of their neighbors, a chilling reminder that one creature's breath is another's deadliest poison. So, who survived this planetary chemical weapons attack? Not many of the original tenants. The old guard, the anaerobes, were almost completely wiped from the face of the Earth. A few scattered refugees fled the toxic new air, becoming fugitives in their own world, driven into the darkest, most desolate corners they could find. They retreated to the crushing blackness of deep-sea hydrothermal vents, or buried themselves in the suffocating oxygen-free muck at the bottom of swamps. And their descendants are still there today, hiding in the shadows, living ghosts of a world that was strangled to death. They are a constant, squirming reminder that the world once belonged to something else entirely. But in any apocalypse, there are winners. A new kind of life began to emerge from the chaos, organisms that developed a bizarre and terrifying new superpower. They didn't just resist the poison, they learned to breathe it. They hacked their own biology to turn this deadly, corrosive gas into the most potent fuel the planet had ever seen, unlocking an explosive new potential for energy and complexity. And this completely warps how we should be looking for life in the cosmos. For decades, our astronomers have been told to scan the atmospheres of distant exoplanets for one key chemical: oxygen. They call it a biosignature, a supposedly telltale sign that something over there is alive and breathing. But what if they have it all wrong? What if oxygen isn't a sign of life, but a sign of a planet-wide murder? Think about it. Finding an oxygen-rich atmosphere could be like arriving at a crime scene and finding it flooded with nerve gas. It proves something intelligent and biological was there, but it also strongly suggests that whatever it was is very, very dead. What if we're not searching for cradles of life, but for planetary tombstones? What if a world choked with oxygen is actually the ghost of a former biosphere, a chemical scar left behind by a biological holocaust that paved the way for something new? We might be aiming our telescopes at graveyards, celebrating the discovery of cosmic-scale death. And that brings us to the most profoundly unsettling thought of all. Your existence, my existence, the existence of every complex creature that has ever walked, crawled, or flown on this planet is a bizarre fluke. We are an accident, a cosmic afterthought built on a foundation of poison and mass extinction. The air you are breathing right now, the very gas that keeps your heart beating, is the diluted waste product of an ancient microbe. It is the exhaust fume of the world's first and greatest apocalypse. We live and thrive on the very substance that annihilated the planet's original rulers, a substance that should have ended life, not supercharged it. So take a deep breath. Feel that poison fill your lungs. You are a child of the cataclysm. You are a creature born from the ruins, a bizarre twist in the story, thriving in the aftermath of a war that was won 2 billion years before you were ever conceived. Our world isn't just weird, it's a monument to its own destruction. But the story doesn't end with a planet-wide graveyard. Oh no, that's just the intermission. The Great Oxidation Event had a bizarre, chilling side effect. By spewing all that oxygen into the air, the cyanobacteria declared war on another gas, methane. Methane was the planet's cozy thermal blanket, and oxygen ripped it to shreds, plunging the entire world into the deepest freeze it has ever known. This wasn't just a chilly winter, this was the Huronian glaciation, a snowball Earth event that lasted for 300 million years. The planet became a ghost white marble, an alien ice ball tumbling through space. The very life that had poisoned the air now flash froze the world. It was a global reset button, pressed with apocalyptic force, wiping the slate clean for whatever horrors came next. And in the crushing pressure of the deep frozen seas, under an atmosphere still thick with poison, something impossible was stirring. A new kind of life, a cellular chimera, a freakish collaboration born from desperation. We're talking about the first eukaryotes, the ancestors of you, me, and every mushroom you've ever nervously poked with a stick. This wasn't gentle evolution, this was microscopic body snatching. One primitive cell, choking on the toxic air, engulfed a smaller bacterium that had, through some bizarre fluke, figured out how to not just survive oxygen, but to use it, to breathe it. But instead of digesting its prisoner, the larger cell enslaved it, turning its captive into an internal power plant. This tiny enslaved organelle became the mitochondrion, the engine that powers nearly all complex life on Earth. This new biological monster thrived in the very environment that was a death sentence for most other life. It inhaled the poison and exhaled pure energy. Oxygen, the most destructive substance the world had ever known, became the ultimate high-octane fuel. It allowed life to get big, to get weird, to build complex bodies and start waging war on a much grander scale. And up above, the poison was performing another act of cosmic alchemy. For millions of years, this free oxygen drifted into the upper atmosphere, where it was blasted by the sun's unfiltered, murderous ultraviolet radiation. The oxygen molecules, O2, were ripped apart and reformed into something new, something protective, O3, ozone. The deadly waste product of ancient bacteria created a planetary shield. The very poison that annihilated the world's first inhabitants was now blocking the cosmic death rays that kept the land sterile and barren. The world's most toxic object became its greatest protector, a beautiful, bizarre paradox written across the entire sky. Without that shield forged from a global catastrophe, life would have remained a slimy film cowering in the oceanic abyss. We would have never happened. Every single breath you take is a direct consequence of the single greatest mass extinction this planet has ever seen. You are breathing the ghost of a murdered world. It's a beautifully unsettling thought, isn't it? Life isn't just a passenger on this planet. It's a rampaging, terraforming force of nature. It poisons, freezes, and reconstructs its own cradle without a shred of intent, driven only by the blind hunger to exist. The most powerful force for change on Earth has always been life itself, which leaves us with a wonderfully morbid question. As we pump our own strange poisons into the air, what new, bizarre form of life is festering in the dark? What microscopic monster is, at this very moment, learning to breathe our pollution, just waiting for us to finish the job so it can inherit a world we've so generously pre-poisoned for it?